And our adventure continues. After leaving Canyonlands on Potash Road, we bid farewell to Moab for this trip and headed on to the next part of our adventure. Oleato Monument Valley was closed on the way by, so we continued on to Page, Arizona for a relaxing night at restaurants and a hotel, but not without some great scenery and a dust storm. The next morning, we left the paved roads behind in Bigwater and headed into Grand Staircase on Smoky Mountain Road. This was to be the beginning of slightly over 100 miles of off-roading from Bigwater, Utah to Alstrom Point and then to Grand Staircase to Escalante, all in one day. As we got closer to Alstrom Point, the winds picked up and the sky became filled with sand. Fortunately, Zach managed to get a few decent photos of Alstrom Point. Sadly, the camera shut down before we got to Kelly Grade and the switchbacks that lead to the top of Smoky Mountain. But once we got to the top of the plateaus, the landscape changed to one full of life. On the right, you'll notice one of the many dispersed campgrounds tucked away in Grand Staircase. After a small water crossing, the rest of the trip across Grand Staircase was a little adventurous, but not nearly as serious as Kelly Grade. This was the easiest water crossing of the entire trip, and they got progressively deeper as we went along. The landscape kept changing as we went along, but one thing was clear. Under the thin layer of sand and dirt was a lot of rock shelves. After a few more hours and many more miles, we finally made it to Escalante, where we briefly hopped onto paved roads for gas and snacks before heading back onto the dirt and rocks to find a dispersed campground. We woke up to another 60 miles of off-roading, this time light stuff to and from Peekaboo Canyon and Spooky Gulch. We did a little off-roading to check out the dispersed campsites outside of Peekaboo Canyon. You can see rock fire rings along the little 4x4 trail as we explore it with our Subies. After a few minutes of aimlessly off-roading, we headed for a hike that was resplendent in amazing views. We had miles of hiking along the ridge of the valley before we turned down into the valley towards the slot canyons. In the distance, the crack in the rock face is the entrance to Peekaboo Canyon. The teeny little black smudges between the trees and the entrance to the canyon are actually people. That's how far away the canyon is from the start of the trail. After meandering our way down the trail, we reached Spooky Gulch, which is a wide slot canyon that's an easy walk from end to end. There's a little bit of a climb at the end of Spooky Gulch, but nothing too difficult. If you've never visited a slot canyon before, or you're a little claustrophobic, then Smoky Gulch is the perfect one to visit. In the meantime, you could watch us walk through it at 2 times the speed and enjoy the walk from the comfort of your own chair. As we got closer to the end, the canyon became a little narrower and we ran into a bunch of fallen rock we had to climb over. It was still a very easy walk, with the most difficult part being stepping correctly to avoid twisting an ankle. Finally, we reached the end and climbed out of the canyon to the top of the butte. From here, the walk was largely a lot of sand and clay in between all of the red and tan rock outcroppings. It was a gorgeous view. After completing Smoky Gulch, we wandered around lost for a bit until we finally found the exit to Peekaboo Canyon. Yes, we decided to do it the wrong way because we were totally lost when we started. Once you enter it, the slot canyon instantly narrows to the point it's barely a sideways water bottle thick from wall to wall, and worse, the walls are curvy left and right, like a pair of matching waves from top to bottom. The views inside Peekaboo Canyon are stunning, so I hope you enjoy this partial walkthrough of the canyon. As you can probably figure out from the video, we had to turn sideways to squeeze our way through lots of the spaces in the narrow canyon. At many points like this one, the canyon wasn't even as wide as a sideways water bottle. Fortunately, there were some areas that opened up to allow people to pass each other. Considering we were going the wrong direction, that came in pretty handy. By the time we got out of the canyons and valley, the weather started getting quite colder, so we made a quick stop in Tropic, Utah for some blankets, and then off we went to Cannonville to find a little turnoff that leads back to the dirt. A quick turn onto Kodachrome Road, and we were once again on trails and 4x4 roads. About another 20 miles, and we made our way to Grosvenor Arch and found a dispersed campground to spend the night with almost another 100 miles of off-roading completed. Stay tuned for the next episode full of off-roading adventures where we start at Grosvenor Arch and tackle a bunch of 4x4 trails off Cottonwood Canyon Road, check out Sand Hollow State Park, and visit Matt's Off-Road Recovery.